After launching to the International Space Station on the third commercial crew rotation mission aboard the microgravity laboratory, NASA's SpaceX Crew-3 astronauts are already in space. At 9:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, the international team of astronauts took off from Florida in NASA's Kennedy Space Center Launch Complex 39A. The Dragon spacecraft has already taken 2 successful trips to space and is already on the way to hitting the 3 trips mark. Today, we'll be telling you what exactly is the mission that required 3 launches and the end goal SpaceX has in mind with this launch. Keep watching the video to find out more about this expedition. The Crew Dragon Endurance spacecraft, which included NASA astronauts Raja Chari, Tom Marshburn, Kayla Barron, and ESA astronaut Matthias Maurer, was launched into orbit by a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket to begin a scientific mission for 6 months to the International Space Station. This is the first space voyage for astronauts Chari, Barron, and Maurer, and Marshburn's third. Marshburn is the 6th person to launch 3 distinct spacecraft from Earth. SpaceX will supervise a succession of automatic spacecraft maneuvers from its Mission Control Center in Hawthorne, California during Crew Dragon's flight, and NASA's teams will regulate space station operations from the Mission Control Center at the agency's Johnson Space Center in Houston throughout the flight. We're witnessing the power of American inventiveness right before our eyes with Raja, Thomas, Kayla, and Matthias on their way to the International Space Station only days after Crew 2's return, Nelson said. NASA's relationship with SpaceX is essential not just for cutting-edge research, but also for worldwide collaboration. The space station brings nations from all around the world together for the common good. Godspeed, Crew 3. I'm excited to watch what you accomplish. Around 7:10 p.m., the Crew Dragon Sustainability will dock independently to the station's Harmony module's forward port. The docking, hatch opening, and welcoming ceremony for the crew aboard the orbiting outpost are broadcast live on NASA television, the NASA app, and the agency's website. It's a big duty to ensure our personnel have safe transportation and continuing access to space, said Steve Stitch, manager of NASA's Commercial Crew Program. We know the crew is looking forward to arriving on station and settling into their long-term mission. The NASA and SpaceX teams are keeping a close eye on them to ensure their safe arrival and ultimate return to Earth. Chari, Marshburn, Barron, and Maurer will join NASA astronaut Mark Vande Hei and Roscosmos cosmonauts Anton Shkaplerov and Peter Dubrov on the Expedition 66 crew. Crew 3 is the 2nd commercial crew mission to fly an astronaut from the European Space Agency. Watching a rocket launch is always exciting, especially when an international crew of astronauts sits aboard it, ESA Director Joseph Ashbacker remarked. Matthias Maurer is the 2nd ESA astronaut to be launched in a Crew Dragon spacecraft under the U.S. Commercial Crew Program. We are ecstatic to see him go to the International Orbit Station with NASA astronauts, continuing an age-old tradition of international cooperation in space for the benefit of Earth. I'd like to wish all Crew 3 astronauts a successful and happy trip on behalf of ESA. Now, let's look at the overview of the mission. Crew Dragon took off on a Falcon 9 rocket from Launch Pad 39A, accelerating its 4 passengers to 17,500 miles per hour and putting them on a collision course with the International Space Station. The Falcon 9 first stage was utilized to fly this mission in June 2021 on SpaceX's 22nd commercial resupply mission to the station. Once in orbit, the crew and SpaceX Mission Control will keep an eye on a sequence of automated movements that will take the Crew 3's members to a new home in orbit at the station's Harmony module's front end. Crew Dragon will be in a position to rendezvous and dock with the space station around 7:10 p.m. on November 11 after a 22-hour mission. The spacecraft is meant to dock automatically, with humans on board having the option to take control and drive the ship manually if necessary. The 3-member crew of Expedition 66 will greet the astronauts of Crew 3 once they have docked successfully. NASA's SpaceX Crew 2 astronauts disembarked from the space station and splashed down in the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Florida, safely awaiting the arrival of Crew 3. Crew 3's astronauts will spend around 6 months aboard the International Space Station, undertaking innovative and interesting scientific research in materials science, health technologies, and plant science to prepare human exploration beyond low Earth orbit and enhance life on Earth. Fiber Optic Production 2, or FOP2, expands on prior work that used a Z-band blend of components to create commercial optical fibers in microgravity. According to previous research, Z-band optical fibers made in microgravity have better properties than fibers made on Earth. FOB2's findings might assist in confirming these studies and contributing to the development of high-value optical fiber production techniques for commercial application on board the space station. The efficiency and effectiveness of this modified commercial off-the-shelf device's underlying technology to complete flow cytometry of specified control solutions is the subject of the Health 1 microgravity demonstration. While in microgravity, flow cytometry can offer rapid and precise studies of biological markers linked to sickness, infection, or environmental exposure. The device's successful in-orbit testing would be a significant step towards achieving this potential for deep space exploration missions. The Exposed Root On-Orbit Test System, or XROOTS study, uses hydroponic and aeroponic methods to grow plants without soil or other growing media. Plants are tracked during their whole lifespan. The findings might lead to viable technologies for growing crops on a greater scale for future space missions. During long-duration space missions, over 70% of astronauts have eye alterations. Spaceflight-associated neuroocular syndrome is the name given to the modifications, or SANS. The European Retinal Diagnostics Project will take photographs of astronauts' retinas during a commercially available ophthalmology lens which has been converted for use with a tablet in space. These photos and videos gathered will be used to test and train AI models that will be able to identify retinal abnormalities in astronauts automatically in the future and help patients and physicians on Earth in distant or underdeveloped areas. Crew-3 astronauts will visit cargo spacecraft like the SpaceX Cargo Dragon in December and the Northrop Grumman Cygnus in early 2022 during their tenure on the orbiting laboratory. They'll also welcome 2 private crews to the station, Japanese tourists on a Russian Soyuz spacecraft in late 2021 and the Axiom Trip 1 crew, the first private astronaut mission to the International Space Station, set to launch no earlier than February 21, 2022. The Crew-3 astronauts will perform a series of spacewalks to equip the station's power system in preparation for the additional solar arrays to boost the station's total available power supply. Crew Dragon will randomly undock with the 4 astronauts aboard, exit the space station, and at the end of the mission re-enter Earth's atmosphere. After splashing down off the coast of Florida, the crew will be picked up by SpaceX recovery craft and transported to land, where they'll board a plane to return to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. NASA's efforts to reclaim and sustain American leadership in human spaceflight continue with the Crew-3 mission. NASA can continue vital research and technological experiments on board the station because of regular long-duration commercial crew rotation flights. Such research helps people on Earth and paves the way for future exploration of the Moon and Mars, beginning with the agency's Artemis missions, which involve landing a woman and a person of color on the lunar surface for the first time. Chari is the mission's commander and the commander of the Crew Dragon spacecraft. From launch till re-entry, he is in charge of all aspects of flight. On the station, he will also work as an Expedition 66 flight engineer. Chari, who was chosen as a NASA astronaut candidate in 2017, will be making his first trip to space. He was born in Milwaukee, though his hometown is Cedar Falls, Iowa. He is also a colonel in the United States Air Force and brings vast expertise as a test pilot to the operation. During his career, he has logged over 2,500 hours of flight time. Marshburn is the mission's second-in-command and pilot of the Crew Dragon spacecraft. He is in charge of the spacecraft's systems and performance. He will join the station as an Expedition 66 flight engineer and take charge of Expedition 67. Marshburn was born in Statesville, North Carolina and joined NASA in 2004. The medical doctor worked as a flight surgeon at NASA Johnson before joining the astronaut corps and eventually becoming the medical operations head for the International Space Station. After flying on 3 different spacecraft, the Crew-3 mission will be his 3rd visit to the space station and his 2nd long-duration mission. Marshburn previously served on the crews of STS-127, which flew on NASA's Space Shuttle Endeavour in 2009, and Expedition 34 and 35, which flew aboard a Russian Soyuz spacecraft and ended in 2013. Barron works for Crew-3 as a mission specialist. During the dynamic launch and re-entry stages of flight, she will work closely with the commander and pilot to keep an eye on the spacecraft. She will join Expedition 66 as a flight engineer once she arrives on the station. Barron was born in Pocatello, Idaho, but she calls Richland, Washington home. She received a bachelor's degree in systems engineering from the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland in 2010, and a master's degree in nuclear engineering from the University of Cambridge, where she was a Gates Cambridge Scholar in 2011. While serving aboard the USS Maine, Barron received her submarine warfare officer certification and deployed 3 times. Lieutenant Commander is her present rank in the U.S. Navy. She served as the flag side to the Superintendent of the United States Naval Academy when she was chosen as an astronaut candidate in 2017. Crew-3 is Barron's first spaceflight. Maurer is also serving as a mission specialist for Crew-3, assisting the commander and pilot in monitoring the spacecraft during the flight's turbulent launch and re-entry phases. He is also a part of the space station's long-duration crew. With the Crew-3's mission, he, like Chari and Barron, is making his first trip to space. Maurer is from Sankt Wendel in the Saarland region of Germany. Before becoming an astronaut, Maurer worked in various engineering and research positions at ESA and universities. In 2016, as part of NASA's Extreme Environment Expedition Operations Space Analog, Maurer spent 16 days on an underwater mission. So, that's everything you need to know about the Crew-3 mission, right from the launch to the mission. Tell us, what do you think about the success of this launch in the comments section down below. And while you're there, do subscribe to our channel and like this video. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.